Hey everyone, Stephen Glicker here from Roll for Combat, and this is the video I've been dreading undoing, but I have been asked by many people to shed some light on tariffs and how it's going to affect the gaming industry, TTRPG industry, video game industry, pretty much anything to do with gaming. And I'm going to tell you, well, how I understand it. And for those of you who don't know, who the heck is this guy? Again, my name's Stephen Glicker. I build websites and software platforms for Fortune 500 companies in Manhattan. I've been doing that for 32 years. I also run a TTRPG studio that makes game products for Pathfinder and 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and going to be doing Shadow Dark in the near future. And I have gone through it all. I've seen it all. I have my products printed in China. I have them imported. I have to deal with warehousing, have to deal with retail. I've seen it all. So I'm going to tell you from personal experience exactly how this works. First thing I want to talk about is tariffs. So how do tariffs work? Okay, a lot of confusion around this, but I'm going to tell you, since I pay them, how they work. This is what happens. Your product, okay, I'm going to say I got a product from China, and the product from China is coming over to my warehouse. Once it arrives in that warehouse, I, being the person who made the product, who's here in the United States, will get a bill. And this bill does have to get paid immediately. Okay, the bill has to get paid right away. And if the bill is not paid, your products are destroyed. That's kind of it. So you have like maybe a week or two to pay that bill in full. No installment plans or anything. So this actually happened to me once, is that I actually use an outside company to take care of all my shipping and tariffs and everything, and I just get a bill. And I suddenly, out of nowhere, got a bill, an email saying, hey, if you don't pay your tariff bill by the end of today, we are going to destroy all your products sitting at the dock. And I had no idea what they were talking about. I had to scramble. I had to wire all this money, had to get it paid immediately. And it turned out there was a mistake. They actually made a mistake on the information. The paperwork is incredibly complex. That's why you have other companies do it for you. And it was a mistake. We got it all straightened out, but I had to be out of pocket right then and there. And that's really the big issue. That's why people are really freaking out, is because you put in orders months ago expecting a 0% tariff, and now you have to pay when, as soon as that product shows up here in the United States, as of right now, tomorrow, you're going to have to pay 54%. So if that product costs you $10,000 to create in China, you're going to get a bill for $5,400 that you have to pay immediately. And I guarantee a lot of people aren't expecting that. A lot of people I've been hearing throughout the industry just today that they don't even have the cash. They don't even have the money to just pay these bills right away. Because there's, usually you plan these out long ahead of time. So how does the tariffs work, and why are people freaking out? Well, here's the thing. In the United States, tariffs on gaming, and I mean all games pretty much, video games, like cartridges, game systems, TTRPG games, board games, anything with the game category was 0%. That's right. Now, again, this is a general overview. There's about 1 billion tariff codes. They're all slightly different. I'm just going to use some of the more general terms. So someone's going to point out, well, no, if you actually have this certain type of game, it's a certain percent. So I'm just using some general terms. But for all intents and purposes, most of us were paying 0%. And that was actually worked out years ago. Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft were very good at negotiating it, because that's when the new systems were coming out. So they got a 0% tariff. Anyhow, that tariff in the last couple of weeks has gone from 0 to 10% to 20% to now 54%. So expect to see increases on everything. The Switch 2, which was $450, well, now expect that to be $650, because that's going to have a tariff on it. Gloomhaven, which was being sold for $99 because they were probably getting that thing printed for like $15 in China. Well, now it's going to go up to $160, $170, probably $200. And that is really how the tariffs work, okay? It's just going to boost everything. So let's do the math of how this actually works. So whatever it costs in China for me to make my game, okay, and we're just going to use some simple math. We're going to use, it costs $10, okay? What we sell at a retail is usually 5 to 6 times what we make it for. So if my game costs me $10 to make and manufacture, and I'm not including shipping or warehousing or any of that, I will sell it as an MSRP of $50 to $60. That's the math. So suddenly, now your $10 game is going to go up to approximately, we'll say $16. Really 17 because it's going to cost more. I won't get into it, but it's actually, you have more and you have to buffer because there's going to be more problems with timing and issues. So, and that's just for the game itself. And then obviously you still have to worry about shipping and warehousing. So suddenly you are increasing the price of your game by basically 60 to 70%. Okay, at the bare minimum 60%. And that's just to break even. That's just to make the exact same amount of money that you were making before the tariffs. So nothing has changed because the game still costs $10 to make. I just now have to pay a 54% tax on top of that $10 game. And that's how the tariffs work. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means board games, I don't even know what they're going to do. Okay, they're really in trouble because those board games, they ain't that cheap. And you can say people are going to be like, well, move them. You can't. Okay, there's a lot of reasons. Take the biggest reason is that a board game is made up of a lot of different components. It has printing. It has to have ink. It has to have minis. It has to have cardboard. It has to have die cuts. It has to be assembled. It could have wrapping, all that. Well, guess where the paper comes from? Guess where the inks come from? Guess where the plastics and the manufacturing, all of those come from other countries. So unless you're sourcing every single thing from one country, aka the United States, you're going to pay a tariff. Okay? And right now, everywhere in the world has a tariff. So no matter what, unless every single piece is coming from here, there's going to be a tax on it. And that's really the biggest issue. The other issue is that we just don't have the expertise, okay? I won't go into it, but all the manufacturers, especially for gaming, especially for large offset printing, they're pretty much all in China right now. And they're in other parts of the country, the world too. But guess what? Those places have tariffs too. So it's not going to get any cheaper. And the other thing is that shipping from China is actually very reasonable. Shipping from other parts of the country, the other parts of the world, whatever you save in printing, you might have to then eat in shipping costs and other fees. And it also can take way longer for the products to show up. And this is things that were planned. Like pretty much everything for Christmas this year was already planned. Like people are already planning for 2026, their product lines in 2027. So all the products and all the product lines for 2025 have just been decimated and absolutely destroyed. So what does that mean? Well, there is one small, very small, itty-bitty bit of hope. And that is that the tariffs on books, educational materials, it's a very, very, very narrow definition, but those are only 7.5%. So TTRPG books, just the books, and anything that can be seen as educational material, things you go in libraries, which TTRPGs do, and things like that, they actually are immune to the executive order. So and I just confirmed this before I did this video, until Congress passes a new law, the tariffs on books is only 7.5%, and this executive order will not stack the additional 54% on top of it, which it could have, if it can be even worse. That's something else, by the way. This 54% is already on top of what already exists. So if you already had something with a 30% tariff, and then you stack this on, well, now you have an 84% tariff. So it's just that bad. Everything stacks. Okay, so the gaming industry, TTRPG industry, most of us were shipping as games, because we were games, we're also books. They had a 0% tariff. Well, now they have a 7.5% tariff. So if you're just doing books, you might be okay. But if you're doing anything like a box set or anything other than just a book, you're going to be classified as a game, and you'll get a 54% tariff. The other thing is that the people who, take the tariffs decide what your classification is, and they might look at your book and decide that it's actually a game and say, you know what, that's not a book. You're not getting a 7.5% tariff, you're getting a 54% tariff. and there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. They just decide. Um, so the only ones that are going maybe baby unscathed out of this could be the TTRPG industry, who just does books. But like, if you're doing plushies, you're doing minis, you're doing box sets, you're doing anything else, those prices are going to go up a lot. So what is the future I see? Well, the future I see is, unfortunately, a lot of retailers are going to get hurt pretty bad. Because right now, if you sell a book or product to a retailer, we only get something like 40 to 35% of the profit. As opposed to if I sell my book to you directly, where I get almost 100% of the profit. So, if you want to make sure that your games and the games that you love are going to succeed, I mean, I hate to say this, but like, if you buy it directly from them, I mean, I don't want to mess up the retailers because, it's very important for game stores to stay in business. But I would say go to a game store, support them by paying them to play games there and buying food. They have a much better markup on food and drinks anyhow, trust me. You'd rather just go there and show their support by playing in the game store and buying food and drinks. And buy your games directly from the manufacturers, the publishers, because then they'll get 100% of the profit. That's what I would recommend. So I'll keep talking about this as it continues, but right now it looks really bleak because we have things like the people were complaining yesterday because they're like, oh, the Switch 2, they announced at $450 and people are freaking out thinking that's too much. Well, guess what? Now it's going to probably be $650 because they're going to just have to add the tariff on top of it. It might be $700. So that's just the way it is. It's like, in fact, what a lot of companies I see doing is they're literally going to have a separate line item in all their invoices and their billing that literally just says tariff. So that okay, this is the product price, and then the tariff price is literally just getting added on so that you're not angry at them. The car manufacturers are doing this. They're all going to be showing that, oh, here's our price, but then here's the extra 25% tariff price that we can't cut it. There's nothing we could do about it. So expect to start seeing that in the future. I really don't know what's going to happen. I've never seen anything like this. I was dreading this. We expected tariffs from China from 60 to 120% is what was said. So this might not be over. When it was 10%, I was pleasantly surprised. When it was 20%, I was kind of getting worried. 54% is pretty much a death knell. It's going to destroy a lot of companies. A lot of companies are going to go out of business. They will not be able to stomach it. They're going to have to pass it on to consumers. And a lot of them probably can't even afford to pay the bills for these tariffs that are the products that are coming in like right now. So anyhow, like, subscribe. I'll keep you up to date. And if you have any questions, feel free to join us every week, every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We do a live show where I have special guests, and I'll talk about this more. Till then, I will talk to you guys all later.